Hi, this is Summer Todd's Mystery Show, and Austin's joining me tonight. Uh, we're going to be talking about just basic paranormal things. Number 1111 is one of them, and maybe just some paranormal experiences we've had. Again, I'm going to say if you have any paranormal stories that maybe you'd like me to discuss on here, you can send them to me. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine. Just let me know in an email. My email is summer, Todd, Todd, 621 at hotmail.com. And you can just put like paranormal or something in the subject matter. I haven't gotten any stories, but we kind of just started announcing that in the last week or so. So we'll get ready, and Austin's got a story right now. An experience happened to him last night, so we'll start with that. Okay.
Okay. Um, yeah, me and my wife, we late last night around maybe 11 or 12, we watched a movie and we ate dinner together, and then we fell asleep after that with our dog Wilbur, and then we woke up around 1 o'clock with Wilbur barking like crazy, and we heard a knock on our back door. And my wife went to the back door to look and see who was there, and nobody was there. And we didn't see any headlights around, because where we're at, you can see headlights if a car's pulled in or anything, and nobody was there. And my wife has had this happen frequently, and she's afraid that if something spiritual, so to speak, was knocking at the door and you open it, it's kind of like inviting something in too. So she didn't open it, but she was pretty freaked out. So yeah, and it was pretty creepy.
There's a lot of stories about knocking and stuff and how you're not supposed to answer it, or if it's three knocks. It wasn't three knocks, was it?
Yeah, it's three knocks.
Just three knocks only?
Yeah, because like the Holy Trinity, that's like the unholy Trinity, like the demons mocking it. So they do three knocks too. That's why you're not supposed to answer it.
Well, the three is not good, because remember, like when your father was sick and I was taking him to the hospital, the three vultures that flew up over the hood of the car, it was like something from a horror movie. I think people don't believe it. I didn't believe it, and he didn't either. So, but that was I knew that was a bad omen. But
if you were there, you saw it. Seeing believing.
Both saw it. Yeah. So, and I've never ever had that happen. I've had a vulture fly across the hood of my car, but just one, because I was going down the back roads back there, but not three going pretty slow across the front of the car. So yeah, I didn't know it was just three knocks. That's not so good.
Oh, the whole three thing, the omens thing. You guys might want to kind of elaborate on that and kind of explain why it's considered an omens, so that people understand that.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The Holy Trinity is as most people know, is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, which would be God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah, so the unholy Trinity, by comparison, would be the Father, the Son, and the unholy Ghost, which would be the Father, Satan, the Son, the Antichrist, and the unholy or unclean spirit. So the satanic realm is mocking God using the three knocks thing. So when you hear three knocks, usually it's something demonic mocking the Holy Trinity. It's kind of the same thing with like 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. 3 a.m. is the witching hour. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing, like how people have a lot of their paranormal experiences around then. That's basically in a nutshell what it's supposed to mean.
Right. Hey, Roger, I don't know if you remember, a few weeks ago I sent you a picture of Robert the doll from Key West.
Yeah.
Because somebody, it was on Facebook or something, a story I read, and I don't know if he was just, playing with people, but he said, the story was there. He said he took a picture of it, and then and he went back home, and now all these weird things are starting to happen. But he mentioned 3 a.m. like he was seeing things and hearing things, and so yeah, and that was kind of creepy. But that 3 to 4, I think he was saying things were starting to happen.
There's a
That
lot of weird things that come out of Key West though, because like a lot of people got spooked over. That's what I was talking to you about with the cats. There's cats down there with thumbs.
that's the ones over on Hemingway's.
Yeah,
We were there, and he still has those bipedal cats. Yeah, because they've never, they just keep having kittens and stuff. So, and they have them on the property, and yeah, they're funny looking.
people
So,
people freaked out when they first seen those, and like
it's a
it's a
yeah,
creepy
and it's a
thing. It's
spiritual.
creepy.
It's very spiritual. And then wasn't there like Austin a bunch of dead people like where Chantel had her wedding? There had been they found some dead bodies, or what was the story about that? I can't remember now. Um,
Oh, I don't. I think a bunch of slaves or something died there or something.
they weren't
In a
buried.
massacre. I forget what the story was about that.
No,
They
see,
weren't
Where
buried.
they were buried there.
I grew up in southern Florida pretty much. So like whenever you're talking about dead bodies in Florida, it's really not that impressive. To be honest
What
with you.
what's the St. Augustine is the oldest the oldest
It's the
city?
oldest city in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was because it was built by the Spanish when they colonized Florida in the 1500s.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
like
you know the
it.
story about Florida, how it was actually discovered, right? It
I
was,
don't know.
it was discovered by Ponce de Leon.
By the Spanish?
Yeah, the Spaniards. Ponce de Leon was looking for the fountain of youth,
It also
and,
went away.
and he actually freaking went up to Florida and explored it, but it was on accident because freaking people didn't know Florida was there. Cuba was actually the first island that was discovered by
Yeah.
Columbus. And,
Right.
and every time Spaniards would sail north, they would freaking disappear. Nobody would find them again. What happened was they were landing on Florida, or in Florida, and all these crazy cannibal freaking Indians would eat them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah. Yeah, they were being devoured.
Yeah.
Key West has a lot of history. But yeah, I don't know what that was, Austin. That's kind of scary. Yeah. Um, with the three knocks and um yeah, but and I
I
was
couldn't tell exactly how many knocks it was, but I think it was more than that. But I couldn't tell for sure because the dog was barking for a minute. But that happens here a lot. Like she'll hear knocks, and usually the time she has heard them, it has been three. But she'll look at out the side the door, and nobody's there or anything.
yeah,
And it's usually at night.
that's crazy. That's scary.
I've
Yeah.
I've heard some stuff when it comes to like old rituals and stuff that you could do for that stuff. Like you know how people put sage and
Yeah.
incense and everything around their house.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I've heard like you're supposed to do it towards like entrance ways and windows.
Right. Also used to burn sage in the old house. So I think there was like some good spirits and bad spirits, and the bad spirits to go away for a little bit at least, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I would burn sage and like sprinkle salt around in it and pray and stuff, and that would usually help.
You can
We did that here not too long after I first moved in.
you know that little freaking demon symbol that's off of the Exodus, or no,
Yeah.
not yeah, is it not Exodus but the poltergeist?
Yeah.
No, what
Yeah.
is it? It's the one where frickin' the priest he goes over to the Middle
Omen.
East.
The omen, isn't it?
No,
No.
was
The
it
Exorcist?
Exorcist? Yeah,
Yeah.
or yeah, the Exorcist. Now, that little frickin' demon that's on there, frickin' he is actually supposed to be a protector demon. Now, what they used to do is they used to take that little freaking amulet and they'd bury it next to the doorways of their houses in Samaria and Assyria and all that, and that demon was supposed to be more powerful than the freaking bad demons, and it would chase them away. So
Wow.
so they would take those little freaking symbols and they would, or I don't know, miniatures,
Yeah.
the little miniature dolls, kind of like, and they would bury them in the ground near their house. Would chase them
Wow.
off. So
Well, we we had somebody. One of my dogs was kind of crazy, so I had this guy come out try to just kind of visit with her to see if he thought she should be trained or something. And he was kind of into paranormal, I think. And somehow we got to talking about sage, and he said, my husband said, well, I can't breathe that stuff. It makes me sick. And he said, well, if you can't smell sage, then you might be ill. You might be something wrong with you. He said, because, it makes, if you have like, he said cancer or something like that, which was kind of weird because I think it was a couple years before your dad got sick. But, yeah. So do you remember, I don't know if you were there when he came, Austin, that guy to train Soleil.
I wasn't there when he came, but I was there. I got there just after he left, I believe. Yeah, that's been a number of years ago.
Yeah, it's really odd he said that to your dad though, because your dad ended up getting sick. But he also acted weird about our house, and then he said that he was doing like plumbing or something for a while or something, and he said that he saw some things in people's basements, and so he was very open to it. But I felt like he was a little uncomfortable in our house, and it wasn't really just Soleil. So I never could really figure it out. And now talking about the stage,
You knew a dude. You knew a dude by the name of Ole.
Soleil was our dog.
Oh, Soleil. I thought you was talking about like a dude named Ole.
Named her that.
It's a French.
At the time when I got her at the shelter, there was that water, and I don't know whatever happened to that water. It was like some kind of bottled water with some Soleil or something.
Okay, Soleil.
Everybody was drinking it. I think you can still get it, but maybe not around here anymore.
So your dog felt uncomfortable about being in your house?
No, the guy that came to train her or to look and see,
okay, yeah,
some ideas about her, and we got to discussing the sage, like and then Marty said, well, I can't breathe that stuff, it's terrible, and he said, you need to get checked out, because if you can't and it makes you that sick, there may be something the matter with you.
Because sage is actually healthy. I mean, even like eating wise, it's actually a healthy food. If it's causing you problems, there's definitely something wrong there.
Yeah, I can't remember how many. It was maybe it was only just a couple years before he got ill, but I don't know how long he really had cancer, because by the time they found it, it was like a stage 4. So
he could have had it. He could have maybe been in the very early phases of it. Then it's hard to say.
Yeah, but that's what they said.
It's hard to say exactly when that would have been.
It used to kind of make me. I mean, I didn't love it, the smell, but it never made me sick. I mean, it's a strong smell, but yeah,
it's a little strong. I mean,
but we were also talking about the number 1111. My daughter's pregnant, and so her son's not even a year old, so she got pregnant real soon. So she's gonna have another one, and probably maybe a month after her first son is a year old. Mm-hmm. And she's been seeing 1111 a lot, and she sent me a video the other night of the very first video she took of Denver. He was premature. She said she didn't realize the time on the video, and it was 11/11, the night he was born. And then she's been seeing a lot during her pregnancy. So, yeah, I mean, we usually think it's a good number, because, I mean, it usually is anytime we've seen it a lot. Um, it's scary though because one time we were on a plane and it was my daughter and I were getting ready to get in the seats, and I think Austin and his dad had already sat down, and the we looked at the tickets and it was seats 211 I think, yeah, or it was 1111, yeah, something like that. So we were kind of scared. It looks like it was the plane gonna crash, but no, it didn't. It was fun. So yeah, it comes up. It's come up a lot. I think it started coming up in my life when right after Austin was born, my husband came home one night and said that they were talking about it at work. And his whoever this was, he was talking to his friend, said, "Now that I've mentioned it to you, you'll start seeing it." And so I was like, "Yeah, what does it mean anyway?" He said, "I don't know." So was funny. I got this old station wagon because I had kids then and had a digital clock in it. It was kind of a fancy car, and um, darn if I didn't start seeing it there. I started seeing it a lot, and I was like, "That's weird." And then Marty, my husband said, "Oh my God, I'm seeing it too," and he told me I would. And um, but yeah, we started seeing, I think, after Austin was born a lot, but it's usually not a bad thing. Um, it just sometimes it signifies maybe some rough patches, but it works out or just changes from what I've seen. My boyfriend, he thinks it's just his mom because he was real close to his mom and she passed away. He thinks anytime he sees it, it's just something from her. Uh,
Now,
but
Pythagoras had the whole thing with numerology, and that's where a lot of the Christian beliefs on 1, 2, and 3 came from, because, like, the Trinity is 3, okay? And 3 was a really, really spiritual number before Christianity even came along, so.
right,
And there was a competition back in those days between the religions too. So they they had a lot of things going on there when it comes to, like, especially numerology. It was a big thing that a lot of these religions would incorporate numerology into their religions. So even though they incorporated it into Christianity, it can go even farther back. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
Well,
it.
it's always in movies and stuff now is something bad, like the three scratches and the three knocks, and
Mm-hmm.
so, but the three, or
The like
in the witching hour, it's supposed to be when all the paranormal stuff is closer, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I pulled it up for you on what Pythagoras had, and he had what they called the. I always have a hard time saying this. Tetrasite. Te, te, Tacitus.
I
Whatever
don't know.
it's called.
I don't know.
tetra
Huh?
tetrahydra.
Yeah, some crazy name
Tetra
like that.
It was like the
Oh,
tetrahydrus or something, wasn't it? That was like
That
a shape that was like a shape he discovered in his like
tactize.
mathematical theory.
I
To
see.
tractize is what it's called. To tractize. I have to slow down and say it slow. But the
Uh,
number 1 is the monad, and that represents the origin of all things. Okay, so
uh,
then you have the number 2, which is the dyad, and it represents matter. And then number
yeah.
3 was the ideal number because it had a beginning, middle, and end. So you got the beginning, middle, and end, all 3 in one.
Hmm.
You see.
Wow. Well, back to 1111, I was seeing it a lot during travel because I remember, you know, first it started like a little bit after Austin was born, and so he was about a year old, and we decided to go to Montana to see a friend, and it's a pretty long flight, so we were on the last leg going into I think it's Helena, and it was late, and there was like me and my husband and Austin, and he was flying, he was doing really great, and there was some woman on the plane that was scared half to death, and she was crying, And then I think there was a couple other people, but there wasn't hardly anybody on this plane going into this small airport. Then you know how the pilots always say, well, we're getting ready to take off and it's so and so time. So there was a little bit of delay. We were sitting there, and then he gets on the intercom and he says, yeah, we're going into Helena, small, in 20 minutes or whatever, and it's 11:11. And I looked at Marty. I was like, oh my God, is the plane going to crash or what? And this woman's back here. You can hear her. She's crying. I don't know if she was drunk. And she was freaking out, and she didn't know nothing about that number. I think she'd been freaking out. So, but we got there and we had a great trip, and it was funny. It was really weird. And I mentioned it to our friend, and he said, oh, that's funny because that's always been my lucky number. And I think his dad or something was born on that day. So he's like, yeah, it's always been a good number for me. And then there was another time we were on a trip, and we were on a cruise, and we were looking out at the boats. There was another boat way out in the distance, and you could see the lifeboats on each end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was lifeboat 11 on one end and 11 on the other end. And it was so freaky because I'm like, that's strange. So yeah, I always noticed it, I think, when I was traveling for a while. And it was, I saw it in a car too. So maybe it's got something to do with travel.
And plus you also got to realize too, there's 4 ones. So like here it says 4 is the number for, it's significant for all 4 seasons, the 4 elements too.
Oh.
So
Okay.
so you have
Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
so you have the number 1, which represents the origin of all things, and then the number 4, which represents the 4 seasons and the 4 elements.
Oh.
Like fire and earth and air and water.
The elements and stuff. Yeah.
Maybe you're seeing the number of the true beast.
What'd you say?
Maybe you're seeing the number of the freaking true beast.
I don't know. I remember another time it happened, and this is really strange. At work, I was getting ready to just quit Miami because I hated it. I was like, I'm going to quit. But I went, and you can interview and go to different departments on campus. So I had one more interview, and I interviewed with this lady, Juanita Tate, and I really liked her. She was really sweet. And then so I came back to my office, and a couple days later, the phone rang, and it has the digital stuff on it, and it was 11:11, and it was her. And she said, hey, I really liked interviewing with you, and I just wanted to offer you the job. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because I was getting ready to quit. So I thought, well, I think I'll try it. And I said, yeah, I'll accept it. And funny thing is somebody that had worked there temporarily in that department called me, and they said they wanted to go to lunch with me. And I went to lunch with them, and they said, you don't want to work for those people. You don't want to work in that department. There's been a lot of problems, and you just want to stay away from it. And I was like, okay. So, but then I was like, well, I might as well try it, because if I don't like it, I was going to quit anyway. So I decided to just, dismiss her and just do it, because I had a good feeling about it. And I ended up staying there until I retired, basically. So, it was really a good experience. And then the guy that I'm dating now, he became my boss. And so I ended up dating him after he quit, for about 5 years or 4 years. And we ended up getting together. So it's really strange. It's a number that usually leads to good stuff, or it just tells you maybe just to be aware. I don't know.
I'd say it, but good stuff. You got promoted.
Yeah.
Now, me and my cousin, Sam saw it.
Yeah.
Me and my cousin Sam saw it a lot.
Yeah.
And me and he had a book about it, and we both thought it was more like a catalyst to get people into thinking about the deeper meaning of life and the things that happen, in your life and things like that, to kind of get people's attention. Because it always leads to other subjects and whatnot about that.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, maybe I would have listened to that woman about just not going over there and working for them, but then kept thinking about that number, and so I decided to take it. But yeah, she was a great boss. I mean, gosh, she's probably in her 80s now. I still talk to her every now and then. She's in Georgia, or no, Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta. Um, but that's funny.
It it is pretty strange how all the numerology works out, because like I've actually like gotten into history and stuff, and
Yeah,
especially when it comes to like numerology and astrology and astronomy, because a lot of people talk bad about astrology, but the truth is astrology was vital to astronomy. Like they kind of worked hands in hand for the longest time. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
Um,
if you go according to words, just root words and everything, and you look at astronomy, the word astronomy and the word astrology,
yeah.
astrology actually fits freaking science a lot better than the freaking word astronomy. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And people don't really understand the real close connection that they both have with one another. And like for example, the Greek are the ones who actually started the whole freaking houses, the gray houses, when you have the age of Aquarius and all that stuff.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I mean?
remember all in the 60s.
Now, before the Greeks got a hold of that, the ancient ancients, they didn't do that shit. Like, they had stars that represented times of the years, but they didn't do the whole freaking age of Aquarius.
Well,
And
it's pretty involved. You really have, I mean, that's a whole thing in itself, isn't it? If you, I mean, it's a,
Each astrological age, I think, is where the vernal equinox sun rises through a given constellation for a period of roughly 2,000 years or something, and then when it goes around the entire wheel of all 12 of them, that's like what they call like the great tropical year, I think.
great
And
year.
certain astronomical events or astrological events repeat themselves and stuff.
Yep.
no, and well, that ties it. Well, look at that, the solar eclipse. People think it's you know,
Well, I mean, I've already said my take on that. Like, there's gonna be a crazy thing happening with this uh, eclipse that just happened. I'm glad we had that one episode just recently, because we were able to talk about that, because
oh, you mean like, I think there's going to be a lot of,
we're gonna
uh,
have paganism. It's coming back. I mean,
real, oh, yeah, I read about
it's
that.
here.
Yeah. But I was
It
thinking,
kind of never went away. I mean, I guess it's always had its followers, but I think it's going to grow a lot more.
yeah,
No,
I do too.
I'm talking about true paganism. I'm not talking about freaking going out in your yard and collecting pine cones and shit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm talking about real paganism. You've got a cult following of over 1 million people chasing down a freaking solar eclipse.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. I do think it's going to change, our climate and stuff. And just a lot of weather things will probably happen. It usually does around those. But yeah, I get what you mean about that, because it was crazy around here. They were talking, they let out the schools because they were afraid we were going to have traffic jams, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
They were
Yeah.
talking that stuff here too. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
it's
they,
insane.
and they let people off. They let kids off of school. I was like, God, they never would have when we were going to school. They let them off for everything nowadays.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, they do.
I got
Its numbers are funny though, because I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I know I've mentioned it to Austin. I'm pretty sure I did. My daughter's going to have her baby cesarean, so they were counting the days and looking at the dates, and she texted me, and she said, I think they're talking about July the 5th. And I said, Chantel, I don't know about that. I said, you know what date that is? And she was like, yeah, or no, I don't think it rang in her. It didn't stick with her for a minute. She was like, no, I was like, that was your dad's funeral. So I said, I don't know if you want that to be your baby's birthday. And maybe it's just a sign or something from him. But I said, it's weird they came up with that date. And she was like, yeah, I don't know if they'll really end up doing it exactly on that date, but it's funny that they threw it out there. That was the first one they threw out, is we think we'll take him probably July the 5th, which was very strange. So I don't know if that is, she just kind of thinks it means he's around. But I don't know how they do that stuff. So, it's like the OJ thing. They said it was 13 years from the day, whether, I think he killed him, but some people don't, but whatever. But from the day that he was found not guilty in his trial, I think, or from the murder. I can't remember which it was.
I didn't even know he had cancer until freaking after he was dead. Like,
I had heard he had, but I didn't think of nothing of it. I just heard it in passing. And then, but yeah. But there were some funny things. In most crimes, if you watch much crime, I watch crime TV sometimes.
Yeah, I noticed.
There are some weird things with dates. There's always weird things with dates.
Yeah.
That was one there with the OJ. Even Ron Goldman said, I think that was some kind of justice, or Nicole, came back from the grave or something, because he was supposed to go to prison for 30 years and he went for 9, but
Yeah, I think it kind of was probably a sign.
Yeah.
That his retribution was coming to him for what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, back then, I don't really know how to take that whole case, because it was really strange from the get-go. You know what I mean? They found out that the freaking police freaking botched the whole freaking case.
Yeah, well, they found out the one police officer was racist because he had said racist things, but I always thought it was kind of ironic, because the LA police loved OJ. When they would come to the domestic violence calls, they would want to take pictures with him.
Yeah.
And really loved OJ. I mean, they may have been racist with some others, but they loved OJ. And they always, and that's why Nicole told one of her friends, she said, he'll kill me and he'll get away with it because the police love him. Nobody listens to me. And then it was Johnny Cochran that gets in there and he's like, I'm going to turn this into a race, thing, because coming off of Rodney King, and boy, he did it, and it worked.
Well, I mean, you do understand though, freaking at the same time, okay, what's his face, dude that made I Dream of Jeannie, he was being brought up on charges for the same exact thing.
No, not Larry Hagman.
No, Larry Hagman was off. He was actually on the show. I'm talking about the guy who made the show. Used to always wear the trench coat and everything. Everywhere. Little black.
I forget who that was.
Black hair guy. Starts with an S. I know that.
Yeah.
But
no, all that.
He freaking was brought up on the same exact thing. Freaking, he was suspected of killing his wife, okay? They both freaking get charged with the same charges. They both freaking get let scot-free, alright?
Yeah.
And everybody's focused on O.J. Simpson. He just disappeared. I forgot his name. I
don't think he was as big as OJ. Yeah.
Yeah, OJ, he made I Dream of Jeannie. I mean,
but he was as outwardly public, I guess. But
yeah,
anyway.
I know what you're saying.
But. Johnny Cochran made it like a big. It was an 11-month trial. Who's ever heard of that? It was like a big show. It turned into a big production in itself. Talk about shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but even I've talked about this before. I know on this show, the dates and murders and stuff. We talk about the 4 kids in is it Idaho?
Sidney Sheldon.
Moscow. Oh, Sidney Sheldon. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, he was big, but that just overshadowed him. All that whole thing. But Go on.
He never. I mean, it was like he just disappeared in the limelight. Nobody even talks about the murder that happened with him.
No, because of the timing. Yeah, it
I
was.
can't even remember his name. I can't remember his name right now.
I forgot his name completely. I had to actually go look it up for you. So
Yeah.
it, yeah.
But you look at the Moscow murders and stuff. There's some dates there. Like I said, the two girls that died, their sister, the one sister had a baby, and it was the baby was born. I think at the time the murders what exactly would have happened, and then the room number they were in had something to do with the other one's birthday. So
Hmm.
yeah, strange stuff.
even
Yeah.
even on like a personal level, the one thing that was weird in my family was I have a nephew from one sister, and his birthday was the same day that my other nephew from another sister's grandma on his dad's side passed away.
Yeah, that's strange. You see that a lot.
My
It's weird.
my sister got the news of her passing away at the same time that my nephew on my sister's side was at the park having a birthday party. It was like,
Wow.
I mean, it was like, how
Isn't it
can you ruin a birthday party any worse than that? You know what I mean?
right? Right. Well, that was what I was telling my daughter. I said, if that really bothers you, I'm sure that you can do it a day before or a day afterwards with your dad's. They don't know that that's your when your dad was buried. So, and it was his funeral. So that's kind of up to her. But yeah.
I do find a lot of that weird. I mean, and I'm not gonna call it coincidental because it usually happens quite a bit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not something that's
It
rare.
happens too much to
Yeah.
happens too much to be coincidental because you see it in too many different cases,
Right.
and I think it's kind of ties in with synchronicities and stuff too. If you look at it,
Well, that
Yeah.
goes back to what we were talking about too, though. Like I was sitting there thinking about it, and I actually freaking learned or figured this out because we were doing that duality. And
Mm-hmm.
when they talk about life and death, okay, life and death is actually a duality. It's not
Yeah.
dualism, it's duality. And what makes it duality is there's no conflict, okay?
Yeah.
And it's natural. There's no way of avoiding it. So you have to ask yourself, is freaking death really supernatural or is it just natural?
Well, I think it's natural. It's part of life, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's part of any species,
I think
you know.
I think probably both.
Well, what happens after death could be supernatural, but the
But
act of death itself is a
it's
natural
It's
thing.
just natural.
life, but we don't know what,
Yeah, that's true.
so we get scared. We're always afraid of the unknown. Um, yeah. I just wonder, like, I'm not afraid of dying, but I've always said this is like, it's not usually good. Even people that die in their sleep can't tell you. They probably wake up for a second or something, or no, they're aware that something's going on and they die. But so it's never good. I mean, it's never like, oh, this was a positive experience, you know. So I'm
But
not afraid of death. It's just how I'm gonna die. I'm like,
yeah,
because it's gonna get
That's
sick,
that's the main thing.
right?
yeah,
And it always scared me when I was a little girl because I ride my horse or my pony, and I'd run around. And if my pony came around, if like there was something dead, he would get scared and he would not go around it, and he would freak out and take off. And I was like, well, that it must be then it's bad. So I don't know if it's just like a natural instinct where an animal's like, oh my goodness, if there's something dead here, maybe I'll get hurt. Maybe that's what it is. But they're certainly afraid of it, and so are we. We're afraid of it too, you know.
um,
So it seems to be pretty much across the board.
my whole opinion, to be honest, is really freaking changing about death because, like, And I know a lot of people, when they hear this, they think it's negative, but it's not. But what I'm about to say is actually true. But, when you spend time around older people, because I
Yeah.
spend time with my parents and I watch the pain that they have to go through. You know what I mean? That tells me that my day's coming.
Right.
Bob Dub had a show with Rush of Waves the other day, and Rush of Waves said that freaking, old age is like that freaking snake. You know what I mean? The snake that's gonna get you. Eventually, it's gonna come. You're gonna get bit by that snake. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Right. And I've watched like, well, I just, like I lost my Leo back in right before Christmas. And it gets to a point you love him, but you're like, I know that he was struggling and he was in pain, and sometimes things were scaring him and he couldn't hear. So you get to a point where you're almost relieved. You don't want to let him go, but it's just part of it's what happens. So yeah.
but I hear people say that stuff now, like growing old gracefully, and I'm like, you are just full of shit. Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear a word you're saying, dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Spend
harder
time.
for
Spend time
it's
with your.
harder for some people to accept.
Yeah. Like, you know.
Well, it depends. I mean, some people have a lot of health issues, and others like they'll just something will come up and kill them, or something will happen suddenly. But and that's the
It
good one,
doesn't happen.
That's not
huh?
the
It doesn't
way.
happen gracefully for everybody. I mean,
Not
for
for
some people,
most.
yeah, some people it's more of an ease into it, and so it is more graceful. And some other people, it's a lot more drastic, depends on the person and their circumstances.
And their lifestyle sometimes,
That's
and
what
just
I was
a lot
getting
of
ready to say. It's habits, okay? All these habits you got right now, you better
yeah,
freaking think twice, okay? Eating those potato chips are cool right now that you're young, all right? But when
yeah.
you get 70 years old and you're like, hey, can you go to the store to get me potato chips? And it's 3 o'clock in the freaking morning, dude. You know what I mean? That's that's when you're gonna realize. You know what I mean? You,
And you got
you
to get some dip with them too.
yeah, and you're diabetic and you don't really need to have ice cream, but for some reason you gotta have ice cream at freaking 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
They have those weird cravings like that. And
Yeah,
then it catches up with them later on, so they don't grow old gracefully.
all right. Well, but it could have been prevented years ago. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
prevention is a big key factor in a lot of things, isn't it?
You know,
Your liver's falling out because you drank, or your kidneys, and yeah, because
and I'm
it's
guilty of it too. Like I love peanut butter. Okay, I love peanut butter.
so fattening. I like it too, but it's fattening as can be.
I cannot eat peanut butter no more because if I go to sleep after eating peanut butter, I will wake up with freaking acid reflux. And I don't know where that came from. I've never ever thought that I'd get acid reflux from peanut butter.
You're just getting older, but you could take some Tums. Have you ever tried it when you go to sleep, and then maybe you won't wake up with it?
Oh come on, dude. Seriously. I mean,
Tums.
let's just put the old man freaking tattoo on my forehead. He's taking
Well,
Tums now.
mine
I might as well
takes
just
Tums. I
quit.
take
I
I,
might.
everybody
I
takes.
take them some.
Yeah,
I take them sometimes
people
for
take
indigestion and whatever.
much or
Yeah.
something. Or,
Well, that means, basically, I could just quit eating peanut butter.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I just would eat less of it. That's what I had to do that too. I had to do that too. I had to eat less of it because I started having stomach cramps when I ate as much as I used to do. So I had to cut way back on it.
Isn't it amazing how peanut butter brings people together?
Yeah.
It is
It really is.
another paranormal. It's another paranormal thing.
When I was pregnant, like my gynecologist told me, he said, you need to eat a lot of protein, and he said peanut butter's good, but you'll get fatter than a chick. And I was like, okay, I'm fat.
You will too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll eat a little of it.
I
But yeah.
I had to cut back on it. I mean I'm no angel. I still have a problem with it. Like
Well, you drink it with milk. Like you have to have a big glass of milk with it. Maybe that's it. Drink some milk with it. You
okay,
know, it'll your stomach.
milk with peanut butter has to be with cereal. So you take the peanut butter and you put it at the bottom of the bowl, then you take cereal and you sprinkle it over the top.
No.
And then
No.
the spoon that you use to get the peanut butter out of the jar, you just leave that in the bowl with peanut butter in it and you just fill the milk up and then you eat all of it with that same spoon.
No, I think you have to drink a glass of milk with a peanut butter sandwich because that's just what you do, isn't it? That's the way I've always done
Well,
it.
milk. I'm saying
That's
if
a,
Well, I do.
if
huh?
if I use milk, then we go beyond the bread. You know what I mean? That goes into the cereal department where you put cereal over your peanut
Don't do
butter.
it. Milk goes with cookies and all kinds of stuff.
Have you ever tried peanut butter and cereal?
Oh no,
You
no.
should
I haven't.
try it. You should
Maybe
try
maybe that's the problem.
it. That's lightweight for compared to when I was younger, man. I'd put freaking ice cream in with it, and I
Oh,
You really did experiment with a lot of that stuff.
yeah.
A lot of different off the wall stuff.
So yeah.
my stomach's pretty strong, but I can't. The one thing I can't do is whiskey, like a shot of whiskey. Oh God, that hurts my stomach. It's like fire.
Well, being
But
honest, I think that's probably where a lot of my problems came from. Is my drinking days. It
yeah,
I'm paying for it now because like
It tends to catch up with you.
yeah, because everybody has this tendency of thinking like if you quit doing drugs and drinking and stuff, eventually you'll get better. But there's stuff that I've damaged in my body that's never gonna be freaking, it's not gonna be or it's not irreversible. You know what I mean?
right.
So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
could be it.
Here, you start getting
That's
older.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot
But
of.
yeah, I think aging.
Huh?
I think aging and death is a natural process, and
Mhm.
then what could happen, after death is the supernatural aspect. But
I agree.
of it,
I think
I think it's
Well, think about birth. Isn't that pretty supernatural that some woman's carrying around some thing in her stomach for 9
no,
months?
it's what
It's
happens
carrying on.
before. Okay,
Huh?
it's
what happens. What happens before birth?
it's
The soul entering the body.
it's the actual procreation that happens before the birth that's
Well,
freaking
yeah, that's amazing that a woman and man could get along. That
well, no, it's
not
not
really.
it's not that material. I'm saying like I'm saying like the actual creation of a life
Right.
where sperm
That's
enters an egg and a life is created. That
Yeah.
could be
That's natural.
Which
well,
is pretty
yeah, that's
amazing.
natural. I'm saying,
The
but
whole
that's still a life. You know what I mean?
yeah, but
That's
the whole carrying the baby thing is weird too. Like that's just strange. Um, that you have another person inside your body you're carrying around for several months and they're doing all kinds of stuff. You can feel them moving around. It's crazy. I never knew anything about that, and then I got pregnant. I was like, "Oh, this is so strange."
you know
It's
what
like
that's called, don't you?
something.
You know what that's called, don't you? It's called
No,
it's called utopia.
utopia.
Yeah.
Freaking, I told somebody when I was in my 30s, I was like, dude, if I could take a color TV and just climb right back up in there, that's where I'd go. Take a color television, some potato chips, run an extension cord.
Well, really, I think babies I know my grandson is he loves water, and so my kids too when they were real little because that is like they're in the motion in their mom's belly and they're in a bunch of fluid, So I think it takes them back to that. It's comforting.
Yeah, it's kind of a natural thing.
Yeah.
I think that is too. The
But it's always said that birth is hard on a baby, and I think it is. It's a traumatic experience. Birth is than what at first.
I think it's a traumatic experience for everybody that's born.
Well,
Yeah.
the supernatural part of it is how does the life begin? Like there, you know what I mean? Like the material functions about the egg and the sperm. Like me and uh,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like me and Austin were just talking about. But what about the actual life entering into the baby?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would.
That whole thing with some people think there's reincarnation, which there's some strange stuff out there. I wouldn't dismiss it completely. That could be, but how does that all work?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Ooh.
Everybody's got their theories. I mean, even religions, they've even got their theories about it and everything, but nobody can prove it. I mean, there isn't a stitch of evidence proving it or disproving it. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, there's no one thing of evidence proving one theory right or wrong one way or the other. I mean, science does tend to agree with the idea of existence before or after life, but no one theory is proven correct as opposed to another.
Right.
yeah.
But like I said, the professor I worked with who was telling me about that other professor who died and how he ended up going out of state, and his grandson was born, and no, he was having surgery, and his wife was out of state, and she went to because her grandson was being born, and he had to stay because of the surgery, and it was supposed to be a minor surgery, but he died, and it was exactly the same time as his grandson. I think it was grandson. Yeah, was born. So
This would actually bring up a good opportunity for us to talk about something I think somebody wanted to talk about in your comments.
what?
Do you remember we got that comment before where somebody mentioned a hospital? This doctor was weighing beds, and he found out that frickin' when patients died, the soul would actually leave the body, and the body would lose like 7 grams of weight.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've read that.
Yeah,
Right.
What do you think about that?
That's strange. Well, and I think Austin sent you the thing where the person's soul was supposed to be leaving the person's body. Well, I saw none.
yeah, that was on.
Yeah, go on.
That was on the Paranormal Videos text channel on Discord under the Wonderful World Weirdness. That's where I put that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there
I
was.
could I could put a link in the comments section too of this video for anybody that wants to see it.
Well,
Yeah,
instead of
him the one you, Austin, because I sent him one from Kentucky. It was Stanton, Kentucky, where a trucker saw an accident, and he actually took the picture, and it's all over the internet. The guy was killed, but you can see something coming up from the car. I mean, it looks like a spirit,
yeah.
and so yeah, that was another incident.
John had a video that he was wanting to put out, but the family was still grieving, so he held back on it, and that was one of the last videos he was going to put on this channel. And
Yeah,
he,
told me
he
about.
he never put it on here because of it. It was real traumatic to the family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember him mentioning that a while back.
Now, before instead of you just posting that freaking video, man, kind of just give us a breakdown on it in your own words, Austin. I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah, you can.
okay. There was a video of this guy. His elderly father was on his deathbed, and he had like the death rattle breathing and everything. And then, at the moment his dad was passing away, he had like a camera rolling in the room with him, I guess. and he saw like an orb coming out of his dad's body as his dad was passing away. It was a really short video. It was maybe a minute long or something. It was from YouTube Shorts, but that was basically what it was. He swore it was his dad's soul leaving his body at the moment of death.
Right. Yeah. That's strange. Just weird.
This episode reminds me of a Metallica song, so I think as a suggested name we should call this For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Time
That's a good
Marches,
song.
or Time Marches On, whichever one. But I think Time Marches On or For Whom the Bell Tolls. I think because like you guys are starting to creep me out.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what we're supposed to
You
do.
could say that's what we're supposed to do. This is supposed to be like a paranormal show, so hopefully it does creep people out a little bit.
I'm getting creeped. I really am. I mean, I'm like, shit. Thanks, guys.
That's the aim.
I'm trying to think of some other times 11/11 happened to me. And gosh darn, it's been a lot has happened with that number.
Now, we've seen it. We've seen it so much throughout our lives and stuff that.
But it never happened to me ever before your dad came home and mentioned it to me. And at first I thought, well, okay, that's the power of suggestion. But then I'm like, how am I doing this? I go into the house and I see it on a clock, and I've never done this before. I'm not making this up. At first I thought, oh, it's just a coincidence. But then it actually started happening with a lot of things that I started seeing in the car, like I said at first.
No, you mentioned that thing about your girlfriend hearing the knock and then hearing a car. Now, that kind of made me think about the stuff that your mom was talking about with the car pulling up in the driveway, and then she'd go look and there was nobody there.
Yeah, the house.
It's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to that.
I mean, I don't know. Like, April said, Austin's wife. It's his wife. Said that she thought somebody touched her in my house, which was kind of funny because nothing paranormal's really happened in this house. But then it had been a couple weeks before that. I was starting to fall asleep, and I had like a can of, I think it was water or something, but it was in a can, and I started to fall asleep, and it was like I know I was going to spill it, but I started to wake up, but something it grabbed a hold of my hand. I thought it was so weird, and I thought that was strange. It really felt like somebody grabbed a hold of my hand and like took the cup or the can up for a minute. So then I thought, well, maybe I was just tired and I was imagining that, but it felt really weird and real. So, and then a couple weeks later, Austin and April were eating dinner here with some other people, and I was over by the stove, and she looked at me. She looked freaked out, and I just knew. I thought, I bet you something happened to her too. And then later on, she told me that something touched her on the shoulder, grabbed her on the shoulder. But then she has some stuff happen around her, like when she lived in our house for a while. When she first started dating Austin, some strange things happened. So she always kind of thinks it's the poltergeist that she brings up, but I don't know.
Well, females are they're more susceptible to poltergeist activity too, and that's not a spirit. That's actually freaking poltergeist activities are created out of the person. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, don't mistake that for like a demon or a spirit or anything of that nature. Poltergeist.
It's more like it. It's more like energy.
Yeah.
As opposed to like an intelligent entity or something of that sort.
I kind of thought I should have been scared, but I wasn't. But at first I thought I was imagining it, but then it didn't feel bad if it was some entity or something. But I don't know.
It's like, remember a while back when I asked you about that thing that happened in your kitchen, if there
Oh,
was, and you said that there might have been a well that was down underneath the kitchen.
there definitely was. It
Okay.
wasn't like
There
in
was.
the dining room. It was partially filled up with a little gravel and stuff. It was underneath the basement, an old well, but it just the water wasn't really any good, so we never
Yeah, but
used it. And the floor was over the well in the
that
dining room.
that's still water from the earth. Like back in the day, man, pagans worshipped the freaking natural water that came up out of the ground. That was holier than freaking water that
Yeah,
fell from the sky.
right. And that's one of my parents' home where I grew up. There was that well. Of course, theirs was a good well. We always had water out of that well, but it was right
It was
outside, right there
probably the
by the.
same kind of thing.
You know.
Yeah, but it was had like a spring in it. I think there was only one time. I think there was a drought one summer that they had to have water trucked in. But outside of that, we always have water because it was just naturally,
Mm-hmm.
just would get water in it. So, but yeah, there might be something to do with wells. I've heard that.
It's a
Um,
lot of different aspects. And it's not really the well. It could be a freaking spring. You know,
yeah, springs, spring
so,
fed. Yeah.
everything.
Actually, funny you mentioned that because in the house where well Austin grew up, like we've all talked about how haunted it was. There's natural springs out there, um for a couple wells there right
Mm-hmm.
across the street. Remember, Austin? Because there was a barn and they had livestock, and the people that lived there
That was
said,
how they got. That was how they got a lot of their water out
yeah,
through those wells back in the old days. So that's why there were so many, and they had a lot of natural springs to draw on around that area too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I
So
mean, that was one thing that that was that I mentioned to you for a reason, because like if who was the person that was in the room with you? It was your daughter
what?
in the kitchen during that conversation. You said there
What?
was, and you swore that your husband had come out of the bedroom or something like that. It was that
Um,
room that you felt uncomfortable about.
oh, our computer room, that
Yeah,
room.
and
Yeah, that one was on another corner of the house. But
mm-hmm,
yeah, the phone, actually his phone, I think that if that's a story you're talking about, his cell phone was in the room where the well was.
mm-hmm.
Um, and he thought somebody messing with his phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nobody was.
See,
At
and
least
that was why I brought that up about the well, because like the well, if I mean, it could have been poltergeist. It could have been because that's the kind of stuff.
Possibly.
That's the
yeah.
kind of energy that would set off a poltergeist, especially if a female is involved, because females have a tendency of freaking instigating poltergeist activities.
Yeah. Yeah. That's weird.
Young female
I
girls too, by the way.
huh?
Young
What you
female girls too, by the way. Like,
can tell, yeah, we were talking about the slider energy and the energy there.
mm-hmm,
I told you the story about, this is really not about wells. Um, at Miami, that the elevator that I used to take up to the third floor of this building I worked in. Um, every time you get to the third floor, it would stop and then it would drop just a little bit, and it was always creepy. But you knew that's what this elevator did. So I got on there one day and going up, got into work, and these two guys got in there, and I don't know, they started talking about ghosts, and I was just like, and I'm not a morning person. I don't like to talk to anybody hardly in the morning, but they were talking about ghosts, and they said, "Did you know this building was haunted?" And I was like, "No, I really hadn't heard that about this building." I said, "I've heard it about Peabody and some of the other buildings around campus." And they're like, "It's haunted, and you never know when you might see a ghost." I said, "Well, what's scary is when it gets to the floor that we're going to, and it drops down. And they were so anyway. We get to the floor and it did that, and they were like, yeah, you never know when you're going to see a ghost. And they were all laughing and stuff, and I was like, they're annoying. It's morning, and they're really annoying me. So anyway, I get into my work, and I wake up, and it was a few days later, and I was like, it was really weird because they were doing work on that building that week. I never saw those guys again, and I'd been on campus long enough that usually, even if I didn't know some of the maintenance guys, I've seen them. You see them just running around all over campus,
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to God, I never saw those two guys again. And so I told somebody about it, and they were like, "Oh, well, maybe they were ghosts."
Yeah,
Like,
it
oh my
could have
God,
been.
because
That could have been.
somebody said, you could see a ghost and talk to them, and you never really know.
Well,
And I was like,
you
God,
know
that's
what you know what happened then, don't you? Ghosts are fucking with you.
I know, that's what I thought. Because I got
They knew they were.
laughing.
They knew they were ghosts. They were fucking with you.
She just finishes up and she said, "Oh, they're just fucking with me." You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. I mean, I even got into work and I was like, is something on my face or are my clothes inside out? Because, I'm not a morning person. I was like, is something wrong with me? And I was like, no. And I didn't act scared because I'm not scared of ghosts anyway. I was like, there's something weird about those guys. And then it hit me a couple, and it kind of scared me. And then when I talked up my friend, she was like, well, they probably were ghosts. I said, yeah, maybe they were. Would you know that you've seen one? Because sometimes they look like regular people, don't they? Now I know sometimes people just see half of a person or something, but I don't know. Maybe we've all.
We have a late guest to the party. Diane, she came into the chat and asked if she missed anything, and I told her, yeah, you missed a lot, but we're glad you're here.
Yeah, really. Does she want to tell us anything, or?
Not yet that I know of. She said, better late than never. And I said,
Right.
you got that right.
Right.
So.
Now we're just talking about if we saw a ghost, if we would know it was a ghost.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that freaking think they've seen ghosts like that, like in real life, that were there talking to them, and then like mysterious things, freaking, in mysterious situations. People talk about that all the time.
I read a story the other day where this woman was, she locked the keys in her car, and her mom was running into the restaurant trying to get somebody to help them. And she was out in the lot, and this guy just pulled up out of nowhere and knew her name, and he helped her get the keys out of the car, and just so quick. And then he just took off, and her mom comes out of the restaurant and said, well, I can't find anybody to help us. And she's like, well, I just got some guy to help me, and he knew my name. So she thought that was weird. She said, because I didn't introduce myself when he came up. He just came over.
Maybe it could have been, a spirit.
Yeah.
And anything,
That's what she thought. It was, yeah, she really did think it was like an angel or something, but she said.
Sometimes you'll see stuff like that.
Now.
Yeah.
Now, we do have an hour and 8 minutes in. If you guys are good with doing that, if you want to cut it short or you want to keep on going, it's your call. So.
Yeah, I mean.
Because.
Where did he go?
That's what I was getting ready to say. Austin got to the point where he's cutting in and out now. Whenever freaking Austin's phone starts freaking blinking out like that, that's a bad sign.
Right. Oh my goodness.
I was having issues. My wife was trying to listen to music on the Bose speaker we have upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I thought my phone was disconnected from, but it was was connected, so she was trying to connect hers. That's why I was she was asking me, like, did you disconnect your phone from? I told her, yeah.
But
You know how that technology stuff does that.
Yeah.
Saying too, because like if Gerald gets a
Yeah.
call connected, I'll hear his phone what he's talking about on the phone on the Bose. Like you're on the thing.
Yeah. I just thought I had my phone disconnected so she could connect hers and listen through at any time, but I didn't know.
Well, if it's close enough, sometimes we reconnect, and we notice that too.
We're gonna have to like go over technology and stuff again on another episode, because I really did enjoy that, and there's still some stuff that we do need to talk about, like, because like you guys.
I like the emergent behavior, and yeah.
Oh,
that's been a cool series in and of itself, talking about technology and the paranormal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Since that phone glitch, it seems like the phones have been doing a lot of weird stuff.
Oh, it's even more than that though. Like we start, if you stop and think about what we were talking about, I mean, we got into some weird shit. I mean, being honest, we did.
Yeah, we did.
I mean,
well, you know what was creepy to me? Just a couple weeks ago, I was going in to pay. I think it was a Lowe's bill. I went in and they're, no, actually called them or something, and they're like, "You don't need to do all this or use your pass." No, I was logging in online. They said, "You don't need to do this anymore. You can do voice recognition." I must have been calling them voice recognition or thumbprint. And I'm like, what? That's creepy. So, a lot of these places now, when you call or something, they're like, "Oh, well, you can do voice recognition, then you won't have to use passwords anymore." I'm like, I don't want to do that. Or a thumbprint on your phone. You can go in and put your thumbprint. So, and what do they do with thumbprints if, like, say you have an account and then you pay it off or something? Well, and even if you close it, what happens to your thumbprint? Because that's a thing.
We were
it's still on there.
We were actually going to get into a good conversation about that before, but then you came in and just kind of like killed that the last time. Yeah, it was like freaking that's.
Well, I guys to go on. I was going to leave.
That was your fault. We were actually gonna get into that one. We were getting hot and heavy. Freaking Austin was getting excited and moving around, and phone was going off and freaking shit, and like everything was going cool, man. He was like, then all of a sudden here you come, and like that was the end of that. Thanks.
So you guys can continue talking about it. Oh, my boyfriend, he's older, so he's like, "Oh my God, I'm not doing that shit." Because he loses he tries to start. I tried to help him do an online thing because he needed to do it to get some stuff done, and then he lost the password. I'm like, how do you even lose your password? It's saved in your phone.
That's why I like computers, because computers freaking save your password for you.
Well, your phone will too if you tell it to, and he has that on his phone. But then he lost. What happened to him is he lost a bunch of passwords, and now he's like, "I'm not doing that again." I'm like, well, but yeah.
I have no respect for phones whatsoever either, at all.
Well, I think people are using them more and more over computers and even iPads because they have them all the time. And then you got these silly digital coupons at Kroger's, and they, things like that.
See, it's convenient to use a phone, but technology-wise, like, phones still suck. Okay, like all these apps that you get, like if you go on and you use your phone for an app, then that's cool. But like what we're doing here, okay, we're on a VoIP, all right. You seen how much hassle and how much aggravation we go through, right?
Right.
And the reason why we're doing that is because we're using telephones.
Yeah, that's true. I'm using an iPad, but yeah, the phones are. Yeah.
And and it doesn't matter which VoIP you go on to, there's always an issue, always. And it gets even worse when it comes to like Skype, because it doesn't matter on Skype if you're on a computer or a phone. It just Skype sucks.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
it does.
So
Oh, I was going to tell you this. I think, well, Austin already heard it, I think. The other night, um, I was getting ready to go to sleep and Alexa just answered some random question about some actor. She said he was born in 1957. I forget who it was. And I was like, Alexa, I didn't ask you anything. And she's like, oh, see, she's saying it right now. She said, sorry, I thought I heard my name. And it's just so human how she answers. I thought she,
that's creepy as shit. Now see, you need to watch out with that crap, because
yeah, because that was like, I thought she'd just say nothing or say, oh, something more computerized, but it's pretty personal to say that.
yeah, that is. And you didn't say nothing. I mean, that is creepy as shit if you stop and think about it. Just out of the blue, she says, "Yo, who the fuck asked her that?"
Well, I read a story about some woman or some girl. She said that she got rid of hers because she woke up in the middle of the night. It said something scary. I forget, like uh, I see dead people or something. She was like, oh my god, and so she threw it away or she got rid of it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna turn it off, or at least when I'm asleep. And then
Yeah,
she's been acting weird because see, I'm talking low because she's on here.
you
I,
don't
I was
want your Alexa to hear you.
the other night, Gerald, he was snoring, and I was like, and then I saw, the light comes on when there's an announcement or something, or you have something, like sometimes if there's a tornado or something coming, she'll say something. And I kept thinking she was going to say something, but she didn't. And then I wanted to ask her if I had a notification, but then I knew it would
Can you
wake
guys hear me?
half to death. So, what was that? Who said that?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
April?
Yeah, we
Oh
can.
no, that must be from the recording from earlier. What is that? That's me earlier.
No, it's not. I'm right here. Nope, I'm right here.
Oh, that's April. That's April talking. Yeah.
Austin said he disconnected the Bose from your conversation. Yeah, he did not.
Oh.
I did text him and said,
Okay.
so I'm not, you know.
So
April, just turn it off and turn it back on. Disconnect.
now,
But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so anyway, I thought she was going to say an announcement, but I wasn't going to ask her because if I did, it would have scared him half to death. That, she said something, he was sound asleep, and I was like, God, it'd scare him half to death. But it was kind of freaky to me, and she never did have an announcement, and I was, like I said, I was afraid to ask her, but yeah.
now Diane told me to say I've seen full body apparitions a few years back. They were fully dressed. I could see them look just like a real person.
So, but so how did you know they were ghosts? I mean, what made you they appeared somewhere they weren't supposed to, or?
That that would actually be a good question, because
Yeah.
I mean, like there has to be some reason that you were able to tell, you know what I mean? What was it that made you feel or know that it was actually a ghost,
Well, I know, like if like I'm here alone, so if I see somebody, I mean, I could see a whole apparition. I know that, of course, there's not a person here if they disappear. But like sometimes I think they kind of merge into our lives, maybe just go on about their way. But a
Well,
lot of times,
even with me, if I see a stranger in my house, okay, the first thing that pops in my head isn't going to be a ghost. It's going to be an intruder, a burglar.
well, yeah, I mean, you would think that at first, but then you might, or like, but if you were outside and a lot of times people see them very quickly. Like maybe I see a guy in a yard and I'm like, oh my God, there's somebody out there, but then they're gone.
Mhm.
And they couldn't have ran off on their own. So sometimes, I just wondered how she knew.
That's
Um,
what I'm getting
Probably
at.
some
I
that.
agree with you on it 100%,
Yeah.
but like she's saying she's seen it like it was a real person, like that with you in the elevator, like
Yeah. Well, and I still wonder to this day. I mean, they could have been real people, but it's funny. Like I said, I knew a lot of people up there, and you'd at least, even if you didn't know them, you'd see them occasionally. To have two of those guys that I've never met, and I worked up there almost 20 years at that point.
okay, she said I used to live in this house that the person I seen used to live in there, but I
Oh,
and the one other person seen the same guy.
really? Were they? I wonder, were they from a time period like in the Civil War, or could you even tell?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
she'll let us know here in a
Yeah.
minute. She is listening. And sorry it took
Wow.
me so long to read that off, Diana. I apologize.
Well, that's okay. I mean, yeah, but that's well, and like I told you about my mother that saw the girl in the period clothing. It was so quick, and of course she knew there's nobody working here at 6:30 in the morning or whatever, and
Hmm.
so yeah,
Now,
yeah,
I personally think that like seeing ghosts is actually an ability that people have because like there's too many people who freaking are doubting it, and the reason why I think that is because there's like a certain type of person who can actually see spirits. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that seeing them is something that every single person can see. You know what I mean?
right. I think more some people are more intuitive and more in touch. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean
and
that's my
that's
personal
just
take.
it. I think it's an ability. It's like some people can play football, but maybe somebody can't. Some other people have a musical talent, but others can't. Like I think my daughter's very psychic, although she tries to block it. But just some people have it, and other people don't have it as strongly. Um,
And it goes like when you're talking about like football, you know what I mean? Like there's people who freaking watch football, and then there's
yeah,
people who actually play football, you know what I
play
mean?
football, and they're talented. So yeah, but not everybody can do it. And I think it is a gift, but I think we've always a lot of times people have been told it's a curse, but it's not really. I think you have to learn to do certain things, maybe positive things with it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's something that I do believe because like freaking like you get on you sit down, you try to watch TV, and like they got ghost hunters, you know what I mean? you know
yeah.
pe- you
I
sit
don't.
there and watch the boringest shit, you know what I mean? Like
I
they're
don't. Hunters. I don't like those shows as much, but I like actually, I watch Celebrity Ghost Stories. They're mostly gone now. I think it's an older show, but I did see one the other night I hadn't seen in a while, and there was a real interesting story on there because they're supposed to be true, and I think most of them are
Mhm.
about a guy's. He lost his cat, and he woke up one morning with a headache, and he felt really sick, and he saw his cat in the kitchen, and he was so happy because he was like, oh, my cat came back. And then the firemen and stuff came in, and they were evacuating the apartment, so they made him get out because there was a gas leak. And he was like, you got to go back in and get my cat. So they I think they did go back up there, but they couldn't find the cat. And so um it was a few days later, because he had pictures of his cat out there and everything, that old lady told him, she said, my vet said he's seen this cat, and he somebody brought him in. And so he went to the vet, and the vet said, your cat died a couple days ago, and he told him the time, and he said that's not possible because I saw him in my kitchen. And he's like, no, somebody brought him in here, he was hit by a car. And He said, I'm sorry, but it's your cat. So the cat, somehow the ghost saved his life because he was getting ready to light a cigarette like he did every morning. And he paused long enough because he heard his cat and saw it. And then the fireman came in and got him out of that apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Diane said when I asked people that lived around me, no, when I asked, the people that lived around me said the guy used to live there by the description I gave them, confirmed that it was the man. I told them what he was wearing, jeans and a Garth Brooks type shirt.
Wow.
Oh, and a Garth Brooks type, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he had a Garth Brooks type shirt.
So,
Well, I mean,
did he die like in a bad way, or maybe he just liked living there or
no, he
something?
was wearing a Garth Brooks shirt. That's how he died. I mean, I'm sorry, dude, but you don't freaking wear no Garth Brooks shirt. I mean, the only
I
time
don't like Garth Brooks.
the only time you wear a Garth Brooks shirt is when you're going line dancing, and nobody does that anymore except for the hip hoppers do it now.
I wonder if he died tragically around there, or if it was just a place he loved. Because I always feel like my husband loved the house we were in, and it was so big, and I wanted to get rid of it because it was. And we were talking about it, but he was so sad about that.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
I feel like.
Yeah.
If he haunted anything, it would probably be that house. He's probably
try to listen to music on your phone.
Tell her to turn it off, Austin, just for until you're done.
Huh?
Tell her to turn it off. And then go to a different room.
No, I was trying. No, my phone was connected. Phone speaker. I was trying to listen to music on it, but it kept picking up my phone, so I went in to disconnect my phone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it must be just,
so then
it keeps.
So hopefully she can turn. Hopefully she can. I think that's audio.
You're really bouncing all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's because your arm there. You might be.
Yeah.
Now, if you guys want to, we can freaking go ahead and cut it short.
Yeah.
Because like we're already at like an hour and a half.
Okay. Well, and
like seriously, that was horrible.
Did you say anymore?
We're gonna have to name Austin Mr. Robot from now on. He's starting to sound like Mr. Robot, except for in real time, like
Did the lady say any more about the ghost though? Did she say any more?
Let me double check. I had to bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
No, not yet. And no offense towards the ghost either, Diane.
No, you probably made her mad about Garth Brooks. What if she likes Garth?
Well, I mean, come on. It's not about Garth Brooks, really. It's not. It's about the people that wear Garth Brooks shirts.
Wearing a Western shirt.
No, it's people that wear Garth Brooks shirts. They got out of hand for a little while there.
Was he wearing a Western shirt or a Garth Brooks T-shirt?
No,
okay.
She said jeans and a Garth Brooks type shirt.
Type shirt. Oh, like those. I was thinking like the
like a rhinestone shirt.
See,
like a rhinestone.
I'm from Southern Illinois, okay, and I understand this because this was hell for a really long time. Like people around here, you weren't cool if you didn't wear a Garth Brooks shirt. And I
oh, you mean the T-shirts though, right?
No, like the button-up cowboy.
Oh, they're like Western shirts. They got the little pearl buttons. Some of them are snaps, or yeah.
And then you got the purple on one side and the orange on the other side. And,
yeah.
You know, just.
But that's really cool. I guess that she saw it as long as she's not scared. but yeah, obviously he's got some kind of attachment. And Austin, are you still there? Can you hear me? I don't know where he went.
He's sticking in there. He's holding out.
I was saying that maybe the guy is haunting the place because he liked it or something tragic happened. But I said I always felt like your dad would probably, if he ever came back, would be out at the old house because that's where he wanted to be. He wanted to die there, and he loved that home, and he didn't want to sell it. So, that was
Well,
his.
unfinished business too. You got to also think of that. Maybe
Yeah,
he wasn't resolved with the idea that he was taking care of you guys. You could have been something like that. So he would be bound to you guys because in his mind he would want to still take care of you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's strange like that. Like they also say unresolved issues could be an addiction to cigarettes. Since you have that craving for tobacco and
right.
you don't give it up before you die, you would literally freaking come back from
Yeah.
whatever because you have a craving for cigarettes.
Well, I know with my husband, I think he had a really hard childhood. His mom and dad had a real tumultuous divorce, and his dad moved around a lot, just moved all the time. And I think to him, home was stability for him. He never had it in his childhood, so he really attached himself to that house, and it just felt safe for him. Sometimes it's your things you've experienced, so traumatic stuff that is kind of like that.
Now,
Yeah.
Diane goes on to say the man she saw had stocky legs and was leaning outside of her porch.
Ooh, that's kind of scary, as long as he's not harmful. But that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never really seen, unless those two guys on the elevator were ghosts, I've never seen a full apparition. I've just seen, like, I saw the top hat man
Hmm.
from a distance. But that to me is just, and I've heard people say they've seen their pets too. I think that's so scary to see a full apparition. But there's some people say they see him all the time, like your friend John says he sees them. So
He,
that's an ability some people have.
Yeah, he was talking to me yesterday about that little boy he saw.
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me?
yeah.
yeah, we can. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah, he was talking to me about that little boy he saw yesterday.
Yeah, was it the church or something, or yeah, the service?
No, Diane said that she doesn't live
Yeah.
there anymore. She's
She doesn't.
yeah, she doesn't live there anymore. She said she
Oh,
stopped short of seeing his face. Me and another woman seen exactly what I seen, but my son was outside on the porch with his girlfriend. Was outside, but did not see this. This was the first time she's ever seen something like look so real.
wow, wow. That's amazing. Yeah.
I'll tell you
Wow.
what, Diane, if you want to, Summer said it earlier at the beginning of the show. Since she's late, I'll bring it back up for her. But if you want to write your story down, email it to Summer, and she can have that as a story for
Yeah.
for a show.
I wonder. I guess I should put my email out there somewhere. I mean, I can tell her again if
It's
she's
it's
listening.
in your description and everything. So
Okay.
me and
Yeah.
Austin got that taken care of for you. So it's in the description of every
Yeah,
video.
when I
Yeah.
took
I
that
just wanted to write the story in there.
show over a week before last, please we need as many people to write in stories as possible. So
Yeah, we can share it. It always opens up topics and more discussion and stuff like that. So that's really, yeah. I wonder where she's from.
Super
Um,
Sugar Hill, Georgia.
oh wow, Georgia. Okay. Okay. That's
Sugar
interesting.
Hill. Sugar Hill is a pretty interesting spot too. So
Does it have a lot of hauntings? Have you ever? I've
a
never heard
lot
of.
of stories. I'll just say stories. I'm not gonna say for sure if they're real hauntings or not, but there's a lot of folklore and a lot of legend
Okay.
and a
And what
lot.
you say was? I'm sorry, because I
Sugar Hill.
no, the lady who's
Her,
chatting. Can't see the chat.
her name's Diane.
Diane. Okay, so I'll be looking. Maybe she'll send me an email if she'd like. Okay.
I
Wow,
used
that's
I,
great, Diane.
I used to live in Georgia and Florida when I was a kid. It was a little bit in Georgia, but mostly in Florida. And like we would still go back to Lithia Springs to freaking go swimming and stuff. She said she's originally from Ohio though, so
Oh, really?
yeah.
What area in Ohio? Because we're from Butler County. I'm from Hamilton.
She's she's said originally from Ohio. I'm waiting back. She'll
Yeah,
most likely
I
that's
respond.
where.
can't hear you guys again. I'm gonna get out of here.
You're gonna get out of here?
Are you?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably wrap it up in a minute. I'm just going to see if she's going to reply, though. I don't want to cut her off. So yeah, um, that's interesting. Somebody from Ohio, but yeah,
It's actually good because that's where you're based out of from. She said
right.
Cleveland. She's from Cleveland.
Okay, yeah, yeah, and I live in Middletown now, so she's probably heard of it. But yeah, okay, interesting.
So
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I don't know if we should wait for Austin to come back. That's one thing.
no, let's get out of
Yeah.
here.
Well, okay. Well, it's great, Diane, hearing your story. And if you want to email me, I welcome that. It's really interesting. So we're just going to wrap it up tonight, and everybody have a nice weekend.
Now, don't
What?
don't leave until he gets back. But like, I'll end the stream and everything
Okay.
for you. So, all right.
Your phone should be connected.
It's connected to it.
Why is it?
I don't know.
All right. Let me see if
Okay.
I can. I'm supposed to stop streaming. I'm getting it. It's just taking a second.
Oh, am I off of a show? Okay.